Sorry to alarm you, but 2003 was 20 years ago. While you take a moment to process that disturbing fact, also consider that the year produced some major bangers in music. Rap, pop, R&B, country, and rock acts were firing off some instant classics, some of which became ubiquitous in what history will likely point to as the beginning of the end of the Mega Smash era. So now, 20 years later, the Great Pop Culture Debate podcast wants to determine what is the best song of 2003. My milkshake brought all the boys to the yard, but most of the good ones were lactose intolerant. I'm your host, Eric Resniak. Please help me welcome my panel for this episode. He's not a prostitute, but he can give you what you want. It's Curtis Creekmore.
It's Europe from a vignette, Eric. It's Europe from a vignette.
Security, Curtis has the demons running all through him again. Welcome, Curtis. Next, don't be fooled by the rocks that he's got, because they're just like our next panelist. Knockoffs. Please welcome back Jake Pitticelli.
No matter where I go, I know where I came from. Party City.
Yeah, and you need to go back where you belong. Actually, now that I'm saying that, feels really racist. So, hi, Jake. Welcome back to the podcast.
Well, Eric, that would check out for you.
Finally, he's going to lose himself in the music the moment it's Kevin Dillon.
I'm going to own it, baby. Have you met my husband, Harry Hamlin? I think I'm confusing my genres, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. Call me Lisa Rinna.
Kevin, let's not talk about the husband. So,
don't you ever go after my husband, Eric. I don't have a husband, but taking applications.
He is. So, before we get to the debate, how does this work? We made a poll of every major song released in 2003 that charted on the U.S. Billboard charts. Our listeners picked their favorites, we tallied the votes, ranked their picks by popularity, and then added them to a bracket. Now we argue about it and insult each other, all for your amusement. Want to play along at home? You can. Head to greatpopculturedebate.com and go to polls and brackets. There you'll find the downloadable listener brackets for this and every episode of our little show. Do your picks match up with ours? Do you think we are crazy regardless of our status in love? Let us know by dropping a comment on this episode at our website or by yelling at us on Twitter, Instagram, or Mastodon. And finally, if you're curious about how we went from the top 32 down to the Sweet 16, become a Patreon supporter of our podcast. Our patrons at the $5 level or higher get exclusive access to the warm-up / part ones for each episode, in which we work our way through all of round one. It's like a whole bonus episode for each topic, and it includes arguments you will not hear anywhere else. And that's just one of our great Patreon perks, so please consider subscribing today. With that out of the way, let's rock those bodies and move on to the debates. First, it's a unanimous victory for ultimate number 1 seed Hey Ya by Outkast, which crushed the revolution of Kelly Clarkson's 4 seed Miss Independent. If you are gay gasping at this, rest assured we did give Kelly her flowers in round 1, but it's up against Hey Ya, which is like fucking Hey Ya. Next, most of the panel wants to keep raising 6 seed Baby Boy by Beyonce featuring Sean Paul, but I still think 2 seed Stacey's Mom by Fountains of Wayne has got it going on. Kevin, explain why you still think about Baby Boy all the time. I will explain why Stacey's Mom is still MILF-tastic, and I don't think I'm going to go forward here, so actually I'll go first. I want to keep some power pop representation on this list. If we knock out Stacey's Mom, we're losing a critical flavor from the year in music. But that being said, I still think it's a deserving song in its own right. Stacey's Mom is an ode to the allure of the cougar, which was very prominent in pop culture at the time. You had Jennifer Coolidge ushering in the MILF concept as Stifler's mom in American Pie just a few years earlier. Cougar Town would come out on ABC just a few years later. The 2000s were a big time for hot moms, and this song celebrated that. It's also catchy as hell. It was written to recapture the energy from 80s pop rock band The Cars, and it totally lives up to that premise. It surges, it has family-friendly double entendres, and most importantly, it provided another great number for our nation's strippers, and I will always celebrate that. That being said, Kevin, I'll take it to you for Baby Boy.
So, we're going to give Fergie her flowers and all this podcast before I go forward. MILF Money by Fergie is a better song about being a hot mom, personally speaking. Sure. So I'm just going to say that first. But, and I think Stacey's Mom has that that icky 2003 male gazy MILF kind of side to it a little bit, like very hangover MILF. And that's fine. That's 2003. But Baby Boy, in the part 1, we talked a little bit about its charting. And what I want to highlight here is some of the critical reception that Baby Boy had. So Rolling Stone, the person who reviewed the single, shared Beyonce's having fun and having those moments where you get to experience joy from Beyonce, part of the Beehive. I do have some burner accounts, so be careful. And I think the other thing about this is like it represents the sultry sexiness that R&B and pop were starting to fuse together around this time. And I think that takes this and my argument from part one to the next level, because R&B was starting to lose its mojo around this time. And it was really only pop R&B that was thriving. And Beyonce really is the person who continues to level up R&B in her music. And that's why for me, like, she's maintained that status and helped keep R&B alive and given it some different roots and different flavor in this song. And I love her, and I think this song is just a better song that represents 2003 and the growth within that space.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it at all. Where are you on this, Jake?
Yeah, I think that I'm really torn. I can see both arguments. I like Baby Boy, like I said in the earlier part of the episode. It makes me want to dance in the martini glass, which is a big thing for me. But I think Stacey's Mom really encapsulates, 2003. I don't think we're talking about the best song. I think we're talking about, what really is a microcosm of that year. And I just think it's it's a really campy song. So is the music video. My favorite lyric in the entire song is, "And I know you think it's just a fantasy, but since your dad walked out, your mom could use a guy like me." And he's like 14, and it's a hysterical music video. It's a great song. And we also have Beyonce on the list for another song that we'll talk about later on.
We do.
Yeah, and I think that's really fair. She's fucking Beyonce, and I am also part of the Beehive. But I just think Stacey's Mom is so 2003. It really encapsulates that year and the music video that goes along with it. Baby Boy is a great song, but for 2003, I'm sticking with Fountains of Wayne.
Okay. Curtis, where are you on this?
Stacey's Mom is also the last one-hit wonder that we have in the top 16. Everything else is from an act that continued on, or at least had some other critical acclaim.
And I'd argue that one-hit wonders were kind of gone by this point.
Yeah,
they were definitely petering out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you listen to we did a one-hit wonder of the 90s, 2000s episode, almost all of them were from the 90s, because by the 2000s, it was very rare that an artist could slip through and have a smash and not be like a capital A artist. But Curtis?
And that's honestly not too surprising with this song, because musically, this is not an amazing song. Beyonce is an amazing musician. She is an amazing vocalist. Her music is critically just good. And Stacey's Mom is like a fun song. I'm still going to vote for it because I do think that it is a better representation of 2003. And I do think that because we have another Beyonce song that I do believe is better than Baby Boy, I think it makes more sense here. It's also a 2 seed, while Baby Boy is a 6 seed. So I'm going to vote with the audience, and I think we're going to push that through.
Well, bust my buttons. I honestly didn't think that was going to advance.
I think it's fair, honestly. I prefer Baby Boy, but Stacey's Mom, as much as I could shit on it, it does definitely represent the early 2000s.
She's got it going on.
And depending on what Stacey's Mom is into, she might be okay with you shitting on it. So
who is the mom in the video again?
I thought in my head it was Pam Anderson, but it's actually Rachel Hunter.
Yes, it's Rachel Hunter. Yes.
Who is a fox. Yeah.
Oh my God. And she's the perfect person for that, honestly.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know who that is.
We'll get to you later.
Pop the corn and feed the children. We'll educate you later.
So we will be advancing Stacey's Mom next. Most of the panel remains sweet on 1-seed Milkshake by Kellis, but Kevin is putting up his dukes for 4-seed Fighter by Christina Aguilera. Curtis, tell us why you continue to drink Milkshake. You drink it up. Kevin, after all the things that Christina put us through, we should despise her. But in the end, make us thank her by making Fighter's chances that much stronger. Kevin, go first. And did I screw up the pronunciation of the name again?
You sure did. It's
Khaleesi. I changed the spelling. Khaleesi. You know what? That's so much easier for me to remember now. It's Khaleesi. Beg pardon. I'm sorry, ma'am. So I'm going to have Kevin go first talking about Fighter.
So there are 2 Christina Aguilera songs that are in this bracket at this round. If I am going to listen to one now, it is Fighter. I am sorry. I listened to Beautiful through Curtis's amazing playlist that he made for this, and I love Linda Perry, but that song is saccharine as shit, and that may be very 2003. But for me, like, what I love about Fighter is it's that song, that pump up song, that amp you up. It is pushing you through, and it wasn't the biggest hit. It wasn't even a huge selling single for the album, but the fact that it made this list and really was and is an ever present, I think, song for. I would say it's one of the best, like, kind of like pump up, like, let's fight back songs of 2000 and beyond. Like, it really gets you going, and it's a song that people really embrace. Now, I love Khalees and Milkshake, and that is probably the better song. It's probably the song that should move forward. But of this, like, me thinking, which Christina Aguilera song do I want to push through? I chose Fighter because I think it's a better song, and it's the song that, for me, has lasted longer. That doesn't make it the right argument in this case. Beautiful is probably the more 2003 song, but I like Fighter and I like its legacy a little bit better. And so I was kind of torn in that instance. So I went with Fighter, and I just went in that vein.
If this was a battle of the two Christina songs, there's no question to me I would advance Fighter here. It would be an easy. Unfortunately, it's not.
I know. I was thinking strategically.
I know. No, and I get it. I'm in the same place where you are. But, like, if I have to choose between this and Milkshake. But first, Jake, where are you on? Well, Curtis, do you want to do your argument for Milkshake and Khalees?
Well,
I think Khalees is going to move forward, and I am good with that. And I think we gave Fighter its proper due.
Okay.
Well, let me ask Jake then. Where are you going to vote first?
La 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 la. I am with Khalees, and let me say this is from her album Tasty, which is a really good album. She has two other songs, "Trick Me" and "Protect My Heart," which are really great bangers. If you haven't, they're deep cuts and they're really good. I like Christina Aguilera, but like I think that this Milkshake is so 2003, and I'm lactose intolerant, so that's saying
and he's still on board. Yeah,
and she's still drinking it.
Kevin, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, Fighter is the better Christina song. I wish we could flip them, because I would vote for Fighter over Numb, which is what Beautiful's up against. But Milkshake wins. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm on Team Milkshake too. I love Milkshake. I love the food. I love the song. I love all of it. It's just
I love carbs. I love bread.
I love carbs. Yeah, that's probably 2003 too.
Probably is.
But that being said, we are going to have to knock out Fighter and move Milkshake forward. But speaking of Xtina, most of the panel continues to think 3-seed Beautiful is, well, gorgeous. But Kevin isn't feeling it, or much of anything, because he's with 2-seed Numb by Linkin Park. Jake, explain why Kevin's words won't bring you down in your support of Beautiful. Kevin, explain why Numb makes you want to be more like you and less like me. And actually, everyone should want to be less like me. But Jake, you go first.
Don't look at me. I love this Christina Aguilera song. Obviously, being a gay man, I think all of us can say that it really holds a special place in our little gay heart. I think the music video, much like we were talking about with Tattoo, with like the scene where the two guys kiss, is really groundbreaking. Her vocals are gorgeous. I believe it was nominated or even maybe won for a Grammy. Her performance during that at the Grammys was so iconic. She is one of the greatest vocalists of our time, and I think this song really showcases it. And that scene in Mean Girls is also just iconic cinema, with Damien, and it's just still a song that I listen to now, much like Fighter. It won't inspire. I don't know. It's very inspiring, and it's I'm going with Xtina all the way.
It's inspiring in a different way than Fighter, right? Like this is a like, aw, I'm beautiful just the way I am. Yeah.
It's true. Oh, different.
There you go. Kevin, talk to me about Numb.
Can I put a brief addendum? We have to talk about Pink trashing Christina in her press tour that she's done recently, because it's amazing and excellent.
And Madonna.
And her talking about how actually Pink wanted Beautiful and went to Linda Perry and said, I want to sing this. And Linda Perry was like, nope, not for you. It's Christina's song. And I get that. It does make sense. Christina's vocals are great. It's not... I'm a gay man, and that song, when it came out in 2003, beautiful, embracing. But for me, I actually connected more to Numb than I did to Beautiful, because I think at the time, I felt more numb to the way I was connecting to society and how society connected to me. And I think what Linkin Park connects to is, especially in this bracket, is something that is kind of invisible or not as present, is that like emo kid in not all of us, I guess, maybe not, but in a lot of us in 2003, and where we felt and what that looked like. And so this track was Linkin Park's most critically acclaimed song, and peaked at number 11 on the Billboard charts. It also did come back to the Billboard charts in 2017 when their lead singer passed away. And so this song has been an ever-present piece from 2003 to the current day. And it's something that people have connected with in many, many different levels, from its original Numb to Numb Encore with Jay-Z, which I talked about in part one. And I think this is our last alternatives. No, that's not true, because we have some other stuff, but they're maybe losing out. But I'd much rather put Linkin Park forward than Christina, and so would Pink.
She sure would. Curtis, where are you on this?
Now I couldn't disagree with you more. So I first have to say, my husband has this phrase that he has coined, I think, with his family, called chili mouth, where it's the sound that people make when their tongue kind of sticks to the roof of their mouth. And it's what Christina Aguilera does in the beginning of Beautiful, because you hear her go, "Don't look at me." And like, it's so... I don't even know. I don't even know.
It's like ASMR.
It is.
Yeah, it's early ASMR, and I have
like
to point out
she's eating a shrimp.
That's exactly what it
jumbo
is.
shrimp.
And
She's eating a shrimp.
Our producer, Bob Erlenbeck, who's on this episode, this is an audio medium. You can't see that his title is Jumbo Shrimp. And literally from the second this song came out, he said to me, "It sounds like she's eating a jumbo shrimp."
This song pairs well with some cocktail sauce.
It does.
Oh my God, I love
Delightfully.
cocktail sauce. Even more reason to push this forward. Okay. I love this song. And Jake, you convinced me, because in 2003, I needed someone to tell me that it was okay to be gay. And that music video, more than anyone else, was doing exactly that. And I can't take it away from you, Kevin. Like, you were feeling your own kind of way in a different way. But
Yep.
the other thing that I hate his voice. I cannot stand, I don't know his name, the way it was the nasal.
Chester Bennington.
Chester Bennington.
Okay. I couldn't, just the nasal tone to his voice. It was grating to me, unfortunately. And I think Beautiful, while I do think Christina's better song here was Fighter, Beautiful is still a beautiful song, and I'm going to push it forward.
Well, guess what, Mimi?
I'm
I
gonna
am
push it
going.
forward. I guess you get to decide, don't you, Eric?
I do, and not just because it's my podcast, but 2 seed is the higher seed here, and that's Numb, and Beautiful is a 3 seed, and yeah. So it's funny. I never connected with Beautiful, and I'm a little bit older than most of the other people on this podcast. So at that point in my life, I was in my mid-20s, and I was kind of like, I saw the video for Beautiful, and I remember thinking, like, I'm glad that the teenagers of today have this. That's great for them. But it did not register with me in a way that I think it registered with other people who needed it at that moment. And I also like to keep in mind that while this is an extremely gay podcast, and I love that it's a gay podcast, I think if we put these two songs in front of a general audience, I'm not sure Beautiful gets the nod. I'm not. And the fact that we had hundreds of people take this poll, and they put Numb above Beautiful here, which I'm going to give that the edge. They're both, I think, very important songs. They're both important songs for 2003. I'm not knocking either one of them. It's a bummer that Christina goes out at this point, but I think Numb is a more interesting song as we continue in this debate than Beautiful, and it's the higher seed. So that's what I'm going to give to it. Sorry to my ex-Tina fans. Don't at me. We will be moving Linkin Park ahead.
Pink applauds you, Eric.
She would. Next, a unanimous decision for 1 seed, Crazy in Love by Beyonce and Jay-Z, which is made for a dark, cold night for 4 seed, I'm With You by Avril Lavigne. Next, the panel is currently split between 2 seed, Work It by Missy Elliott, and 3 Seed Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. Curtis, save Evanescence from the nothing it could become by pushing it into round 3. Kevin, you're not a prostitute, but you can give us what we want. Speak on Missy and work it. I think that's the third time we've referenced that line so far in this episode, so that's a hat trick, ladies and gentlemen. Could have used any one of the other lines from this song that are iconic, but Kevin, why don't you go first?
Yeah, for me, this is a very tough battle, in all honesty. This is where it gets tricky, and this is where you get into songs. I love both of these songs, in all honesty. I could rage out to Evanescence like nobody's business. But am I going to try and do that like little spinny thing on the floor when Work It comes on? No, because I don't have rhythm. But this song is fucking fire. It is so good. And in part 1, Jake said, oh, I remember when Missy Elliott came out in Katy Perry's halftime show and did that song. To me, that was Missy Elliott's halftime show. And when she came out there and did this song...
And Left Shark.
And Left Shark, yes. And did this song, everyone lost their goddamned minds and went bananas. And that just shows you generationally, the people who were watching that were also probably more prominently around in 2003 and living their best life and enjoying this song. And this was such a nostalgia boon for that halftime show. And it really represents and resonates why that song, while it didn't chart as high, the youths really took that over at that time and made that a pop culture moment. The music video won Video of the Year. It was her first Video of the Year that she'd ever won for. It was culture at that time. And, you know, we don't get a lot. We talked about female rappers before. She really, as a producer, as a songwriter, is 2003 and is part of pop culture in that way. And it's just it just gets me going more. Although again, it's very close because I love both of these.
Curtis, talk to me about Evanescence.
Flip Kevin. Okay. So I stumped for Work It during our Patreon episode, and I really, truly love that song. It had a profound impact on my development as a teenager and as a musician. Missy was one of the first rap artists that I really fell in love with, and this song is one of the main reasons why. But Evanescence, man, just like every other teenager in the early 2000s, I went through my goth metal days. I shopped at Spencer's and I wore those black jelly bracelets and the black and white checkered sweatbands. I listened to Evanescence constantly. This is probably the most embarrassing thing I am willing to admit on this podcast. In high school, I was in choir. Obviously, I'm gay. And my friends and I, who were so obsessed with Evanescence, convinced our choir director to let us do a performance during a concert. What was that performance? Oh, just an American Sign Language interpretive dance to the song Tourniquet by Evanescence.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yes.
In the South, groundbreaking.
I know, right? That is not this song. But without this song, Evanescence would never have reached the meteoric heights that they did. Amy Lee was only 19 when they released this album, and she sounds angelic. Her voice is stunning, and I wish she had continued on the same path of fame so that we could have continued to hear her. I'm honestly not really sure what happened, but unfortunately, they're no longer really around. This song won Best Hard Rock Performance Grammy and was also nominated for Best Rock Song in 2003. Surprisingly, the male rap portion was forced on the band to, quote, make it marketable, or the song and the album would not have been released. Amy didn't want it, but she had to deal with it. And I think it's the thing that makes the song undeniably 2003, even though it's not the main draw for me for listening. It's an excellent song that had an indelible impact on music and my childhood. So it's my choice.
It's a terrific argument, Curtis. And thank you for bearing your soul. That's good stuff. The ASL thing. That's amazing.
Embarrassing.
No shame in our game. Jake, where are you going to vote on this one?
Yeah, Curtis, that is a really embarrassing story. I am going to go with Missy Elliott. I will always and forever have my freak on. As Kevin mentioned, she is a great songwriter, so much so that she got inducted to the Songwriting Hall of Fame this past year. And I think that Missy Elliott is such a iconic performer, just in general, but especially of 2003 from, what are her other songs? From Lose Control to Get Your Freak On. I mean, the list goes on and on. Past that Dutch, don't mind if I do. And again, I feel like Bring Me to Life, anytime I hear something by Evanescence, it's just like it's nails on a chalkboard. Sorry, Curtis. Yeah, and I also I saw a recent article, or maybe like it was last year, that in Virginia, there was a Confederate statue of Robert E. Lee, and the town made a petition to have it removed and replaced with Missy Elliott. So get your freak on, Virginia.
That is a win.
That
is a win. Yeah, I just think she's such an important artist in general, and I love the song, so I'm sticking with Misdemeanor.
Yeah, Curtis, you did a really great passionate argument for Evanescence, and it makes me feel bad. But like, if I'm going with which of these songs do I think is, I mean, they're both super 2003, right? Like they're aggressively 2003. You were never going to hear Evanescence in this conversation again. Missy might come up in a couple other areas, but I'm going to give it to Missy here. I am. I'm sorry. I think it is the more important song for that year, and I think it has a better legacy than Evanescence. That's just my opinion.
I love the song. I love Missy Elliott. I love Work It. So
this
it's not like
one.
I don't lose here. So I wanted to talk about Evanescence because we really
Missy Elliott did the thing.
She did the thing. Exactly.
And they broke up because Amy Lee went solo. Tried to go solo. She tried to go. Sorry, she tried. Where you been?
Where you been, girl? All right. So, Kevin, it doesn't matter if you stick with Work It or not.
Sticking with Missy.
So we will be advancing Work It to round 3. Next, the majority of the panel wants 1 seed Lose Yourself by Eminem to sing for the moment. But Jake is taking 4 seed Where Is the Love by Black Eyed Peas super literally. Jake, tap into your Fergalicious qualities and push for the peas. I will order up another plate of mom spaghetti as I go hard for Lose Yourself. Jake, why don't you go first?
So this song was in response to 9/11. So anybody who didn't vote for this song, I think, is a conspiracy theorist. I mean, especially
just I think Chris was telling me he thought it was like a hoax or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Bush did 9/11. And
I'm a denier. Marion Cotillard me.
Just for people to understand, Katya from Drag Race Season 7 used to sign her autograph. That's literally what she would write. Bush did 911. So anyway. Jake, go on.
No, I just think it has, even the lyrics, though they're very on the nose, I think it is a very important message, and I think many of the words do apply to like what's going on now. And yeah, I'm a big Fergie fan. I feel like this is the first song of the Black Eyed Peas that I remember. I know that they had a few hits before, but I feel like this is the really big breakout song that I remember in 2003 playing all the time on my iPod when I was on my way to 5th grade in the school bus. So it was a very formative song for me. Where Is the Love?
Everybody on this podcast just turned to dust. They just went, like at the end of Hocus Pocus where they turn into glitter.
I love that we have a wide range of people's experiences in this, honestly, because I'm an old and Jake is so youthful and dewy, right? And I think it's great. So it was anything else
Don't
to say
talk about his proclivities like that. Come on, Eric.
Anything else about the peas, or is that where you're leaving it?
No, that's where I'm leaving it. I stand by my peas.
If you listen to part 1, you will know that I hate this song. I hate it. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I am, I do care about 9/11. I feel like I've been very glib. I feel like I've been super glib about that.
Say that right now.
I must say that right now because I feel like I've been very glib and dismissive, and I'm not any of those things. But I cannot believe that I am here defending an Eminem song on my gay ass podcast, and yet here we are. So Lose Yourself was technically released towards the end of 2002. It was the lead single from the 8 Mile soundtrack, and I ask you, what is more early 2000s than 8 Mile? Absolutely nothing. Regardless of whether you like Eminem, regardless of whether you like rap rock, Lose Yourself is undeniable. It is a bold, confident song that hooks you from the jump and it never lets you go. It is a battle song in every sense of the word. It's a song that hypes you up for battle. It is a song about a rap battle. It is a song about what it feels like to be in battle. It is aggressively straight, and I hate that about it, but it is also just straight up excellent. It was number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 charts for 12 consecutive weeks, and it spent 16 weeks in the top 10. That's a quarter of the year. It also won the Oscar for Best Original Song. This is arguably Eminem's most defining song. Listening to it again today, I think we mentioned this before, Curtis has put together a playlist of all top 32. We will post that. Please check it out on our website, greatpopculture.com. Listening to it again today, I realized this is less a song and more a manifesto, and I mean that in not the Unabomber way, but also possibly in the Unabomber way. Like, this is him very much telling you who he is as an artist and what his mission is, and he does an incredibly good job. I'm not a huge fan of him generally, but you can't deny his place. There you go.
Wow.
You can't deny his place in American pop culture, especially from the time period we're talking about here. So with that being said, Kevin, I'm going to assume you're going with Eminem here.
Yeah, like early Eminem, like his first couple of albums are like some of my favorite albums of all time. Like, I get it. I'm gay and he has homophobic lyrics. I genuinely think he does some interesting stuff around gay stuff, even though he does say the F word and we don't love that. But like, I think there's something down deep. I'm just going to say that. No, not like, I think there's some like, I think there's some stuff there. And like, I think he ultimately was just such an interesting rap artist and musician. And this song is so damn powerful. And I'm going to save my later point on this one, because I've got some things. So I'm going with Lose Yourself.
Mom Spaghetti. Curtis, where are you?
Thanks, Kim Basinger.
Gay icon and ambassador Elton John forgave him, so I guess we can too.
That's true.
Between 9/11 and the Unabomber, there's an awful lot of terrorist talk on this podcast.
But 2003.
Okay.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
but that's why the lyrics are so like, we're trying to stop terrorism, but we still got terrorists here living in the CIA, in the USA.
Jake.
It's very important.
I'm sorry,
is.
Jake. I also don't really like Eminem, but this isn't even a contest, so I'm gonna choose you. Lose,
You know
love
what? All right.
yourself, as Eric said earlier.
Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. No, I think I'm going to. You guys have convinced me, and solely for the lyric alone, you only have one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. And I never do. So
Exactly.
I can relate.
Yes, that is my aesthetic. Thank you very much. All right, so it's a unanimous decision for Mr. M. Lastly, in round 2, the panel is currently set to advance 3C Cry Me a River by Justin Timberlake, but I'm over here like, whoa, shorty, it's my birthday, and I'm sticking with 2-seed Into Club by 50 Cent. Kevin, don't wreck Justin's life like that cheating hussy Britney, and garner the votes for River. I'll explain why you can still find me in the club with a bottle full of bub and 50 Cent. Why don't you go first, Kevin?
I'm going to say you also have a chance of winning me over on this one, because
Ooh.
I love both of these songs. And I think this is another really, really tough battle, because you've got what you're going to argue for, Eric, which I think is one of like the biggest singles of the year, maybe the biggest single, versus just like a cultural moment. And I think what you have in Cry Me a River, we talked about Justin Timberlake and all of his problems of 2003, but what's two problematic men going up against each other in a battle? That's 2003, folks.
2003. Mhm.
Yep. Why I ultimately went with Justin Timberlake in this battle is like the combination of the work that he did with Timbaland. Like, the whole Justified album really represents a pinnacle moment in pop music during this time. And the song itself, I think it was one of the longer pop songs at the time. I want to say it like comes in at like 4:30 or something around like that, which is a little bit rarer for a pop song at this time. Quick, efficient. And I think what this song does is it like really pushes the boundaries in a really interesting way. And for as much as Justin had those sometimes annoying pick me theater kid energy in his persona, there's also something very interesting around him as a pop star. And I think he is genuinely very talented, and Justified is one of the best albums of 2003. And this song is one of the most interesting songs of 2003. And I love both of these. So I want to hear your Into Club argument.
Sure. So I will say that I think these songs are both iconically 2003. I think they're actually pretty evenly matched. But which one has the greater legacy? I think that goes to 50. Stop for a second, and I'm just going to say to you, imagine the opening strains to Into Club in your head right now, and you can hear them. You just magically do that. Hey, shorty, it's your birthday. We gonna party like it's your birthday. Like, people still play Into Club when they're going out. Wildin'? Is that what the youngs call it? Anyway, while the sound is undeniably...
Oh my God.
I'm old, so...
Eric's gonna watch Murder, She Wrote after the podcast. Don't worry about it.
Watch it, bitch. I am Murder, She Wrote.
And I'm only murders in this building.
There you go. There it is. So while the sound is undeniably 2003, the vibe and the subject matter is timeless. I don't love the homophobia included in it, I'll tell you that. I also think 50's laid-back rap style was ahead of its time, almost predating mumble rap by years compared to the hard-hitting delivery style of most of his peers at this time. I also just love 50's maturation as a pop culture icon. He segued into producing and has been messy as hell with his personal finances. His literally iconic slapdowns with tertiary members of the Vanderpump Rules cast. And given the current inflation, at this point, he must certainly be at least be $1 by now. So finally, in conclusion, I have to say, Fofty, please. Jake, where are you?
That was a great argument, Eric. I'm 100% with you. It is 50 Cent in the club.
Thank you. Curtis, where are you?
It doesn't matter, unfortunately, because Into Club is a 2 seed. I'm actually going to vote for Justin Timberlake here because outside of the intro that you were just talking about, Eric, the birthday, it's huge. It's very similar to like what I can't even remember the song that we were talking about earlier of just like a single line that is still repeated. I think Get Low, right? From the window to the wall. Like that's still a thing. You don't know the rest of that song. Tell me the rest of the lyrics.
Oh,
the club.
I actually used to be able to know. I knew every lyric to that song.
I do know the lyric. I can't do them because, like,
that's
I'm
appropriation.
old. And yes, thank you.
Yeah,
it would be wildly offensive for me to even attempt to
Curtis
do
is
that.
projecting and doesn't know any of the words to this song. I just personally think that Cry Me a River is a better song, but I also understand that Into Club is like that is 2003 for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I hear that. Kevin, are you sticking with Cry Me a River?
It doesn't matter. So I will. So let's advance Into Club because honestly, they're both very 2003 and great.
For sure. All right, so that's it. We're going to advance Into Club. That is the end of round 2. We're going to take a quick break and pretend to be teen lesbians for cheap and sleazy PR. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey listeners, it's Bob from the Great Pop Culture Debate. We hope you're enjoying this episode and that you're yelling back at your speakers telling us how wrong we are. Did you know that there's a much better way to tell us how you feel? Come kiki with our panelists on Discord. Our patrons at the $10 level get access to our exclusive Discord server where you can share your thoughts about our decisions or just gab with our group about everything pop culture. It's like participating in your own episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked. We have something for everyone to talk about, including reality TV, comics, news, nostalgia, and so much more. So if you love spirited debate and fabulous people, become a Patreon supporter today and join in on the conversation.
And we're back for round 3 of our best song of 2003 debate. Before we get into the Elite 8, I want our panelists to share their social media accounts. Please make sure to share your MySpace top 5. Curtis, how can people reach you? And what were you doing in 2003? I'm curious.
I basically just was his name Ted, right? He was.
I don't think it was Ted.
Was it not Ted? Who was the owner of MySpace?
I was literally never on MySpace. I'm going to admit this.
Oh, his name was Tom.
Tom.
MySpace Tom.
Wow, you
Yes.
are
Oh
old,
my
Eric. My God, you weren't on MySpace?
I wasn't on MySpace. No. I didn't have a live journal. None
I
of
had
it.
a Zanga, Eric. I had a Zanga.
I don't know her. So
I guess it was like an off-brand live journal. Anyway, you can find me on basically any social media at Curtitch, Curtitch. And in 2003, I was a senior in high school. I graduated in 2004, so this was the beginning of my senior year. And I think that's why this music is so this is truly pivotal to who I became, because those are very formative years.
For sure. And in terms of what you're working on now, Curtis is actually co-producing in this here podcast, but he also, if you want more 2003 content, we've started doing top 10 listicles on our website, greatpopculturedebate.com. If you go to the bonus section, Curtis, what was the one that you did for this episode?
Yes, and this one is specific to 2003. It is the top 10 best one-hit wonders of 2003. A couple of them actually made this bracket, but most of them didn't, unsurprisingly. So if you're interested in a little bit more content and just reading something mindless, please head over to our website and look those up.
Thank you. And Jake, why don't you tell us about how people can find you and what you were doing in 2003?
Yeah, people can find me on the Twatter. I love to twat. At Jake, not from State Farm. And my Instagram is at badgalriri. No, it's at J Tesu, which is my middle name, Tesu, _
And you have, on your free time, you are part of the Boston Gay Men's Chorus. You're on the board, correct?
I sure am.
And you all have a concert coming up in June.
We do. We have our Pride concert coming up in June. You can get the tickets at bgmc.org/tickets. And it is Whitney and friends. So you're not going to want to miss it.
Is one of those friends Fergie, by the way? Is Fergie one of those friends?
Yeah. Always and forever, the best friend.
And you were saying what you were doing in 2003.
In 2003, I was in 4th grade. It's really when I peaked. It was all downhill from there. I think I was learning about fractions. And yeah, that was it.
My back hurts just listening to him.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you, Jake. That's amazing. Kevin, what are your socials and what were you doing in 2003 and what else are you working on?
He was in 4th grade, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Sorry, I had minor palpitations, and I'm in really good health, so that's a lot for me.
I'm not.
Okay, Grandma, let's get you to bed.
My socials, you can find me tweeting. I love to tweet, too, and argue about film. That's usually what I'm arguing about, at ET Kevin's Mind. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Kevin_Dillon_23. I don't have anything to promote. If you want to come find me at Rock Bar on a Friday night in New York City, great. Love to see you at Jockstrap night. That's me promoting something. And then in 2003, I was in college. It was my freshman year of college. And so I think, this was a very pivotal year for me, like obviously transitional moment in your life. And I guess graduated from high school, went to an all boys military high school. So that emo side that you're hearing about really caught up, and college and exploring sexuality. Yay. Dated a woman in college too. So yes.
No
did you not
wonder
know
you
that?
were numb, Kevin.
What?
Good God.
I went guys, girls, guys. And
Wow.
guys have stuck forever.
Wow. Yeah. Once you go back here, you never go back. So that's fascinating. I didn't know that about you, Kevin. So thank you. You can find me at Eric Resniak on Twitter and Instagram, or just message at Great Pop Culture Debate on Insta, or at GPCD on Mastodon. That's probably a better use of your time. In terms of me, 2003, I was actually in my 2nd year as the deputy editor at Seaville Weekly in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's a great paper in a great little town. I really loved my time in Charlottesville. I was in my early 20s. I remember I turned 25 during that period. So it was kind of like becoming a young adult. It was a very challenging job, but I made great friends, and it was kind of a really idyllic early 20s situation. Great cocktails in Charlottesville, by the way. I don't know if Bang is still there, but that's how I spent a bunch of my Friday nights, was at Bang in Charlottesville, Virginia. So with that being said, let's
Some
move
things
on
never
around.
change, do they? there.
Getting a bang. Exactly. Now let's move on to round 3 before Christina Aguilera gets dirty again. So it is our Elite 8 matchups, and we're just going to go around the horn with these. First up, it's ultimate number 1 seed Hey Ya by Outkast and 2 seed Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne. I'm going to start with Curtis. Where are you voting on this one?
I'm gonna go with Hey Ya. We haven't talked about it a whole lot, but it's the better song here. It's such a good one.
Jake,
I'm shaking it like a Polaroid picture.
shake it. Kevin,
Don't want to meet your mama. Hey ya.
you just want to make me comma?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it a clean sweep for Hey Ya. I think Stacy's Mom had a great run, but Hey Ya, there's a reason it's the ultimate number 1 seed. And we'll get to that, I think, more when we get to Final Four. Next up, it's number 1 seed Milkshake by Khalees versus
Finally.
I am going to overpronounce that name for the rest of time. Versus 2 seed Numb by Linkin Park. Let's start reverse order. Kevin, where are you on this one?
I'm sticking with the emo boy that I truly am. Linkin Park Numb.
All right, Jake, where are you?
I love a song that really embodies big thought energy, so I'm going to stick with Milkshake.
Yes, it's so true. It was like Megan Thee Stallion, but like before there was Megan Thee Stallion, right? Curtis,
I'm also going with Milkshake. They are delicious.
they are delicious, they're nutritious, and damn right it's better than yours. I'm also giving it to Milkshake by Khalees. I'm sorry, Kevin, do you want to say any last words on Linkin Park, or have we have done enough to kind of lift it up?
No, my nails are painted black. There's a single tear running from my eye, and I'm fine with this losing to Milkshake.
Well, if you're spending your night crying, you are becoming more like me and less like you. So with that being said, we will advance 1 seed Milkshake. Next, it's another 1 seed, Crazy in Love by Beyonce, Jay-Z, versus Work It, 2 seed by Missy Elliott. God, this is a hard one. I'm going to start in the middle with Jake.
Okay, this is a hard one. I think we can all agree this is probably our hardest choice so far. I mean, Missy Elliott, Beyonce, both titans of their industry, both have great discography, but I am a card-carrying member of the Beehive. I'm going to the Renaissance tour this summer. I am crazy in love for Crazy in Love. I think this is from after Beyonce broke out on her own from Destiny's Child and released her first self-titled album, Beyonce, not to be confused with her fourth self-titled album, also called Beyonce. It was so good. And we had other songs on this list from the album, such as Baby Boy. It's just such an iconic album. And it features her and Jay-Z, who she's now married to. You know, they are such a power couple. And she is the most awarded, as of this year, Grammy has the most Grammys of any artist. I just think from where she has, that is such a breakout record. And I hear it all the time. Like Hey Ya, at weddings, at, proms, just all these different celebratory events. It's such a great song. And when you hear those horns start off, it cannot make you not want to dance. And it's just so well produced. And it did win a Grammy for Song of the Year as well, or Record of the Year, one of them. So I am sticking with Bey.
Kevin.
Like Mistress Isabel Brooks, I too am removing the paper mache puppets from my shoulders and going out on my own. I'm going with Beyonce and Crazy in Love. I love Missy Elliott, and Work It is great, but it really was the beginning of both Beyonce and she is. It was the transcendent pop culture diva moment of 2003.
Curtis.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I think I prefer Gossip Folks and Pass That Dutch to Work It. But I understand why Work It's here, and I love it. Like, not to take away from it at all, but I do think Crazy in Love is the better song here. So I'll vote for that too.
Missy Elliott shaved her chocha for this, is what I have to say. No, but in all honesty, I give it to Crazy in Love. I don't want to go too much into this because we'll be talking about it next round, but this song is epic. Like, it is an epic pop song. You can't listen to it and not be just overcome by it. So Work, it's awesome. It is everything we said it was, but it's up against Crazy in Love. So we're pushing Crazy in Love ahead. And finally, in round 3, it's 1 seed Lose Yourself by Eminem versus 2 seed Into Club by 50 Cent. Curtis, where are you?
Oh, I don't care. I'm gonna go with Lose Yourself because I do think that it is at least like a more impactful and more relevant to the year song because of 8 Mile, because of everything that has become. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lose Yourself.
Jake.
I also am going to go with Lose Yourself for the same reasons that Curtis mentioned. R.I.P. Brittany Snow. Not Brittany Snow. What's her name? Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy. Oh, God. What
Christina
a
killed that
tragedy.
Brittany too? Good
Maybe.
God.
Is that part 1 or is that part 2? I think it was in part 1. So people who have not listened to the Patreon have no idea of the butchering that I did on the Me Against the Music in part 1. Anyway, Kevin, where are you on this one?
It's the first rap song to win at the Oscars. It is. I think I'm going to lose this in round 4, so I'm gonna shoot my load on this one right now. Eminem was not there to accept his Oscar. He did the very 2003 thing that a rap artist would do and didn't show up. And then what I will do, or what I will say, is that they did an anniversary number of Lose Yourself at the Oscars, and the crowd ate that shit up. Like, it is still one of the most prescient songs of its time. We've talked about 9/11 a lot. Take a drink, I guess, on this podcast if you hear the words 9/11.
I mean, honestly, take a drink, period, if you're thinking about 9/11, but yeah.
But like, it represents the angst and anxiety of the working class in a post 9/11 world, and them trying to navigate how to veer into society and try and fight for what they want and what they need. And Eminem's a great songwriter. I know that he is problematic, but again, we've talked about this. It's 2003. Who is it? So I'm going Eminem.
I don't love the fact that we're putting forward, in a battle of 2 rappers, we're putting forward the white rapper. I don't love that from an optics perspective. Let me just go ahead and throw that out there. But if we're talking about which song is more powerful and has more legacy, certainly more awards, right? I mean, it won the fucking Oscar. I give it to Eminem and Lose Yourself, and I don't really care for Eminem, but it's a great song.
If you asked anyone, they'd say Eminem's a better rapper than 50 Cent.
I think even 50 Cent might say that.
He would. He absolutely would.
Honestly, I mean, Eminem, for whatever he is, he's an incredibly, as you said, gifted songwriter, and he is a very talented performer. I will not take that away from him.
And much like Milkshake, M&Ms are delicious.
They are delicious. Let's
point.
put some M&Ms into that milkshake. Now we're cooking. Like, I'm into that. With that being said, we have our final 4. We're going to take a quick break to pick up some of the best for Chinchilla, and we'll be right back after these messages. And we are back with the final 4 of our Best Song of 2003 debate. At this point in the show, I always like to take a step back and take a look at where we ended up, to see if it matches up to where I thought it was going to. This is unique in that we have 4 1 seeds in the final 4. That actually very rarely happens on this podcast. And I do think they are the 4 songs that frankly deserve to be here. I think the panel agrees with me on that. Curtis?
Yeah, for sure. This is right.
Yeah. Jake?
Yes, I agree.
And Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at this list, I was like, there are a lot of great songs. I think we've made the ultimate great decision to have the 4 1 seeds here.
A lot of great songs, but I think each of these songs we use this term constantly on here. These are iconic songs. Like, literally every one of these 4 songs have lived on for decades and have, I think, peerless reputations to this day. So we're going to dive right in. The first matchup is Hey Ya by Outkast versus Milkshake by Kelis. I'm going to start with Curtis. Where are you on this?
I am picking Milkshake here.
Ooh.
I cannot hear the song Milkshake without there being two very specific pop culture moments that explode in front of my eyes. The first being the scene from Mean Girls where Regina George's like 6-year-old little sister, Kylie, is popping her hips in front of the TV to the Milkshake video. And if only Beautiful had made it to the Elite Eight, we would have had a Mean Girls battle, but unfortunately that did not occur. The second is the scene from Identity Thief where Melissa McCarthy is singing everything that comes on the radio, and her rendition of Milkshake is hilarious. It sounds more like a chicken clucking. Like, love it. I digress. I feel like Milkshake made a tear in the time-space continuum. It's been compared to Nasty Girl by Vanity Six, In My House by Mary Jane Girls, and Touch It by Monifa. It is unabashedly provocative and sexual. It is thick and creamy and delicious. It is basically a 3
I want
minute...
ice cream.
I know.
It
Makes me
is-
want a hot dog real bad.
It is basically a 3-minute tutorial in sex appeal. Milkshake is a song that even 20 years later is being used in television and movies to underscore pure raunch. And I am here for every last drop.
Terrific argument. Damn, that's a very good argument. Okay, Jake, where are you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough choice, but I mean, I think the arguments that you made, Curtis, are really convincing. I'm also just a really big Mean Girls fan, and I just think, yeah, even though I'm lactose intolerant, I'm sticking with Milkshake. Khalees, I love, me some Andre 3000, but, it's Khalees all the way for this one.
All right, Kevin, where are you?
So I didn't have either of these songs in the final four. This packet got busted, and I did that with the pure joy of busting, and appropriately, as Khalees would love that.
The boys are waiting.
Exactly. I personally prefer The Way You Move over Hey Ya because I think it's like a smoother R&B, and I thought Hey Ya got really fucking annoying. But again, what's more 2003 than a song that's overplayed and gets really annoying? I think, this is really tough, but I think I'm ultimately gonna go with Hey Ya because it's still a little bit more mainstream and a little bit more present in culture. It's that wedding song. I get what y'all are saying about Khalees and Milkshake because it's my personal preference of the better song. But what do I think people will everyone, not us just us queers, remember from 2003, it's Hey Ya, and that song, reignited the sales in Polaroid. Like, holy shit. Like, that's bananas. Like, that's how powerful that song was. And so I'm gonna go with Hey Ya, even though it's not my preferred song of the two.
I will say that I actually think these are both wedding songs. Like, Milkshake comes on at the wedding and your drunk auntie gets just filthy on the dance floor.
That's fair.
And God love her for it. But I'm also with Hey Ya here, and here's my argument. Listening to, again, we made a playlist. You can find it on the website, greatpopculturedebate.com, of all top 32 songs. What I think Hey Ya has going for it is extremely experimental. And one of the things I realized kept happening with a lot of the songs from this period was it's the dawn of the 21st century, and a lot of artists who were really far thinking and putting the art in artist were looking at all of these musical styles from the 20th century, and they were borrowing different facets of it to create a song that was uniquely new, right? And so Hey Ya has got elements of R&B, it's got rap, it's got gospel, it's got pop, it's got something that almost
spoken word.
It's like this menagerie. It's like a vaudeville show as a song, and it was wildly popular, right? Like the first time you heard it, you're just like, well, that's something new, even though most of the elements of it were actually quite old, but the sound that they created was unique and new. And that's not to take away from Khalees and Milkshake, which also sounded very different from virtually anything else on the radio at that time. Like, certainly we had R&B. Certainly we had like, there's that sound of the early 2000s that's almost this industrial like groaning that's in the background of a lot of the songs, and that is very present in Milkshake. But I think of the two of them, I think that Hey Ya is the more broadly appealing, as Kevin pointed out. And I also think that it has an element of art that supersedes just the pure sex of Milkshake. And I say that with nothing but respect. So that being said, Curtis, are you sticking with Milkshake?
I am. That's on your resume, by the way. Just pure sex.
And people ask for refunds all the time. But I say I'd have to charge.
You do.
It's very clear.
You do.
Yeah.
And they have the one thing I love that she added the ding of the doorbell ringing. Like, that's just a fun little addition. The one thing that I will add about Milkshake is I think we're at the point where we can kind of shelve a little bit because we're all top ones. We're all one seeds here. These are all of the 4 highest ranked songs. So I'm not even thinking of like, what do other people want me to do? Because if that were the case, then it would be the top 1 seed every time, like the biggest vote winner. When I think of this, I'm like, what is going to get me to the dance floor?
That's
And
a good
it's
point.
Milkshake. I'm dancing for Milkshake. Hey, yeah, it's fun. Like, I'll go shake it like a Polaroid picture. But if like that comes on, my shoulders are moving and my hips are moving me toward that dance floor, I'm going to dance to Milkshake.
That's a good
Fair
point.
It's a fair point.
You
Jake,
might have
you
swayed
sticking-
me back.
Jake, where are you?
Yeah, no, I'm sticking with Milkshake. And much like in the way, like, hey, yeah, I hear at weddings, I would like Milkshake to be played at my funeral. He died how he lived, with all the boys in the yard.
Exactly.
All right, I'm back to
R.I.P. Rest in
Milkshake.
peace.
I'm back to
No, I'm
Milkshake.
sticking with Khalees. Yeah.
All right. Well, Kevin's back. I will stick with Hey Ya just for the pure vote of it all. But we will be advancing Milkshake to the final 2. Next, it's Crazy in Love by Beyonce and Jay-Z versus Lose Yourself by Eminem. I'm going to start with Kevin. Where are you?
You can't make me vote against Beyonce.
I know.
The beehive will come for you.
Okay, so I won't. Even though I do think Lose Yourself is one of the peak rap moments of this time period and this year, I will stick with Beyonce. And I do think we should probably talk about Crazy in Love in this conversation. Does someone want to take that from me?
I can talk a little bit about Crazy in Love. It was one of those songs that when it came out, it was like being slapped in the face by how good it was. Just like from the jump, this song was, I think I used the term epic. And it is, you've got 2 titans, right? At this point, they were just dating. They weren't married, correct?
Yeah, I think
And
that's right.
it was, in fact, a hint at how absolutely fucked up their relationship is. If you remember the amazing
Oh my God, the
elevator fight.
Yes.
So they were really laying it all on the line, and I appreciate that for them. But it was, I'm sure Beyonce absolutely had solo songs prior to this song. I'm sure she did. But I don't care because this was the song where I was like, she arrived. She's here. She's a solo artist. She's a queen. And she's masterful in it. The horns are masterful in it. The backup vocals in are great. Jay-Z's verse is solid. I think Eminem's is frankly the better rap of the 2. But it all comes together for this. Like, it is an explosion. This song, it just builds and builds and builds. It's cathartic. You can't, like, walking down the street to this song, this is a strutting that ass song, and like it just drives you, it carries you. And Lose Yourself has its own kind of elements to that too, but Crazy in Love is like pushing fast forward on like your body. It's incredible. I think it is really, I don't know of another song that kind of captures the tone and the energy that this one does even now. It's really good. So Kevin, you're sticking with Bey?
I am. I'm going to stick with Beyonce.
Jake?
I'm sticking with Beyonce. And just to go back to the list that Curtis, I think, mentioned earlier of the best songs by Rolling Stones, this was number 1.
Was it really?
Wow.
No shit. I did not know that.
Yeah, I have the article. Yep, number 1.
Huh. Curtis?
So I think I'm going to vote for Eminem, which is crazy. Crazy
It
in
is crazy.
Love.
No, it's just crazy.
And I think I'm going to do it because...
You want Milkshake to win.
No. not at all. No. I really, Kevin mentioned it earlier. This is just a fun podcast. Like there are no hard feelings here. Like I have no skin in the game because I really enjoyed all these songs.
Hot takes with low stakes, baby.
Exactly. I just think Lose Yourself artistically, it's kind of the argument that you made for Hey Ya. Hey Ya. Jesus. Eric, it's from a rap perspective, if I think about any rap song that I've ever heard, this one is probably the one that I remember the most words to, which I'm not a big fan of rap, so it's not for me. But just from like the art perspective, I think this is pinnacle Eminem to me. Lose Yourself is. This is not pinnacle Beyonce. And that may not be fair because we're talking about the song of 2003, but I don't think it's going to matter, so I'm going to vote for Eminem anyway.
I'm just curious, what do you think is pinnacle Beyonce?
Oh boy. So for me, and this may be my personal feelings creeping in, her next album, I think it was called 4, or right? Yeah, no.
No, her next album was one with Irreplaceable.
Yes, what was that called?
B-Day.
B-Day?
B-Day.
Yes,
B-Day.
9481. It's her birthday. That's what the 4 came from. So Irreplaceable, Ring the Alarm. I feel like that's her best album, and I think it's something from that I would call her pinnacle. But it also is very linked closely to a bad breakup that I was going through, and I just listened to that album a lot. But I do think musically that was the first pinnacle of her rise.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have 3 for Crazy in Love, 1 for Lose Yourself. That gives us a final 2 of Milkshake by Khalees and Crazy in Love by Beyonce and Jay-Z. I'm going to start smack dab in the middle. Jake, where are you voting?
Khalees, I'm really happy for you. But Beyonce had the best song of all time. Just ask Rolling Stones. And there it is, Crazy in Love. Without a doubt, 120% is the best song of 2003. I mean, it's Beyonce's breakout album when she, like I said earlier, when she was solo from Destiny's Child. And from where she is then to where she is now, she's even bigger. And between her and Jay-Z, 2 catalysts and titans of the industry, I really don't see how Kellis. I love Milkshake, but I'm B all the way.
All right. Kevin.
This is the announcement of a singular pop diva in this moment. This is Beyonce's Diana solo career moment. Like this Crazy in Love and 2003 represents that in a more magnanimous, anyways, we'll move on from that in a she just did it kind of way. And Crazy in Love represents, I don't disagree with you, Curtis, that it's not necessarily her singular mode or model, but what I think she and Mariah were doing around this time, and we haven't talked about her at all, is blending the pop music R&B landscape in a really interesting way. And honestly, that's why. Like, that's very 2003. You're blending the style of music, and it's Beyonce. And it's not, as some of you have pronounced, Kellis. It's not Khalees. It's Beyonce, for sure.
I do think it's so interesting that we're saying, like, this is Beyonce announcing herself as a solo act, but it's in a duet with the man who will become her husband. I just think it's neither here nor there. It's just funny to me.
But their partnership is
It's Beyonce
also
featuring Jay-Z.
It's featuring. I do not consider this
sure.
a duet at all.
It's
He talked
21st
for a
century
which is
podcast.
Bonnie and Clyde.
so 2003 featuring.
I know.
Yes.
It's
Featuring
very-
is very
it's
2003.
very that.
It
Yes.
is.
It's always someone tagging on just a little bit so that they can get a little paycheck.
Curtis, where are you?
So I want everybody to leave this podcast and go listen to Khalees because it's more than
Yes.
just Milkshake. One of my
Absolutely.
first drag numbers that I ever did was a song called Blindfold Me by Khalees, where I took a man on stage, tied his hands behind his back, and blindfolded him. And it is fun to do, so you should probably do that too. But I'm not going to argue with the Beehive. Like, Beyonce is a queen of music, full stop. And this, I do agree with everybody. This was the beginning. This was the beginning of her solo career. Crazy in Love it's an amazing song. It's so good, and I'm happy that it's won. It is a better song than Milkshake, but please, everybody, go give Khalees a listen because she deserves it.
She does deserve it. She deserves her flowers. I am not going to sit here and make the argument that I'm voting for Beyonce because it's Beyonce. I'm not that guy. And in fact, there have been several other episodes, including one coming this season, not to spoil anything, where I actively vote against Beyonce. But I think in this particular one, this really is the best song of 2003. Like, just on its face. It's a terrific song. It was amazing then. It's still amazing today. And that, I think, has power to it. So there you have it, folks. Our pick for the best song of 2003 is Crazy in Love by Beyonce and Jay-Z. Do you agree? Do you think we've become numb to common sense? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Mastodon. While you're there, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. If you really enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to like and rate the episode of the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or whatever platform you listen on. I want to say thank you to my panel. You know what? I will teach you, and I won't even charge. And thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content, and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion. Now, fellas, what's cooler than being cool?
Ice cold.
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm for season 16 of Drag Race. All right.